Okay. Additional thoughts time for Life After Death by Biggie. Time to come clean. I don't really know where to begin, so I guess I'll just jump off the diving board. I listened to this quite a bit this week. I listened to All Eyez on Me as a comparison listen. I didn't get all the way through it. I got through first half. Didn't get through second half. I got a couple tracks in on the second half. I was at work. I like Life After Death more than All Eyez on Me. Now, that probably sounds maybe a little ridiculous based off of my reaction to Life After Death. Usually my experience is I listen to the album the first time, the reaction, which is what you guys all see. And generally that's kind of where I stay. Sometimes I enjoy it a little bit more with more listens. It'll grow on me. That's not too uncommon. Usually if I'm not terribly impressed, I tend to stay not terribly impressed. There's been a couple albums, Igor, of course, the big one that I couldn't get into it no matter how hard I tried. There's been some others as well. One of the few notable exceptions was Damn. When I finished recording my reaction to Damn by Kendrick, I was like, oh my God, it's a Kendrick album that I don't like. And now I think it's probably my favorite Kendrick album. So sometimes there's some swings, but usually not so much. This one has been strange because I said in the reaction, the back half falls apart. After more listens, I warmed up to the back half a little, not a lot. The back half is still weak. But I wanted to listen to Tupac as well because I wanted to get a comparison. Was I being too harsh with this one? Was All Eyez on Me just better? And I think for me, in my opinion, I think All Eyez on Me, the lows aren't as low, but the highs aren't as high for me. Life After Death, the lows are pretty low. there's some just outright awful songs on the back end of this album. But the highs are so high, in my opinion, that I think Life After Death, even if you don't parse it down, even if you don't chuck out the bad songs, if you just leave it as is and just go toe-to-toe with All Eyez on Me, I think Life After Death clears All Eyez on Me pretty easily, honestly. And then I started thinking about that. I was talking to a friend over the weekend, and the question was brought up, okay, well, who do you like more, Biggie or Tupac? And I hemmed and hawed a bit, which I tend to do, right? Because one thing I get a kick out of with myself on this channel is trying to express an opinion without ever taking a side. You guys probably noticed that, right? I'll say stuff, but then I'll try and put myself in the middle where I'm not really making a claim either way. I like Biggie more than Tupac. Rapping. If you get into other aspects of career or motivation, inspiration, that type of thing, that's a different conversation. But when it comes to strictly rapping, strictly music, after hearing, I've heard Ready to Die and Life After Death, I've heard Me Against the World and All Eyez on Me. I know there's more Tupac, and I'll get to it eventually. But as of right now, I prefer Biggie over Tupac. And I thought about why. And for me, as I thought about that and I listened to it, and I listened to Tupac and listened to Biggie, I think for me, in terms of strictly rapping, strictly listening to somebody, Biggie has this comfort, this style, this just ease about the way he does things. With Tupac, when you listen to his music, you can tell he was stressed out. Rightfully so. You could tell the things that were going on in his mind and the strain that he was under, both in terms of music career, in terms of legal issues, in terms of his own mortality, things that he wanted to do in terms of the black community. You can just tell through his music, what he says in his music, he was under a lot of stress. That doesn't mean his music's bad. That's not a problem. I mean, everything that he does, I like. I think both rappers, Biggie and Tupac, will be forever iconic, forever legendary. But there's something about Biggie, like when you hear Tupac talking about this and that, and he's worried about this, and Biggie, there's just this presentation of, yeah, whatever. It's just consistent. It's consistent. And he gets aggressive, he gets loud, he chills out a little bit, he talks about missing people. He has his range of emotions as well. But all of these emotions seems like, feels like, sounds like it exists in this band of, yeah, that's life. Like he just ain't that worried about it. And not to say that that's a better position to hold, as in terms of a person or processing emotions or anything like that. But for my ears as a listener, listening to a rapper, the way Biggie does it already, the way he sounds already, this cool, calm, collected guy with this great voice, great rhymes, great flow. Yeah, I just prefer Biggie in terms of the overall rapping presentation, I suppose. So that's been kind of a fun little experience after essentially shitting on the back half of this album, right? Because both things were happening. I didn't really like the back album. I still don't really enjoy the back album. A couple of you, or the back half of the album, a couple of you pointed out there's a lot of stuff I'm missing in terms of like diss track references and references, I guess, Wu-Tang and Nas. There's a lot of stuff I missed, which is totally fair. But like when I look at the back track or the back half, first of all, this will probably piss a lot of people off. Notorious Thugs is a song I enjoy, but I wish it was not on this album. I wish Notorious Thugs was on a Bone Thugs album, because in terms of the audio experience, it feels like such a departure. And I understand why it's there. I mean, it's good collaboration. It's a great song. But it feels like such a departure for me. It really throws me off. And I just go, yeah. And I feel like I sound like a little kid who's all cranky because his peas are touching the mashed potatoes, and ew, that's gross now. That's probably coming off that way. But that's just how I feel. Ew, gross. my peas and my mashed potatoes are mixed together. I want this over here. Oh, I don't want to eat it. This type of a thing. So yeah, there's my experience with Notorious Thugs. Again, I don't have a problem with the song, but I think really what's happening for me is this week, I'm realizing just how much I like Biggie. And this has happened before with other artists where, what was one? Well, I think it happened on All Eyez on Me, actually. There's a couple tracks with Tupac. He had a lot of other guys coming on, as features and stuff like that, which is cool, trying to bring other artists up. But I don't want to listen to other artists. I want to listen to you. And so that's just a me thing. Anyway, with complaining about the back half of the album, Long Kiss Goodnight grew on me. You're nobody I enjoyed to begin with. But basically, anytime P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, fucking Silly Putty, whatever he's going by these days, whenever he's like actively involved, I'm just like over it. I don't want to hear it. And then there's a couple tracks, I think, let's see, Going Back to Cali, I like, but I don't like that there's this minute-long little skit at the beginning. Usually I'm listening to music when I'm driving, and I don't want to pick up my phone when I'm on the freeway surrounded by California assholes and try and like skip ahead and stuff. So some of the skits, the first time you hear them, okay, cool, whatever. 3, 4, 5 times later, I just don't want to hear these skits anymore. So there's a lot of tracks in the back end that have these little skits on the front that kind of gets under my skin. But goddamn, the first half is just incredible. I think my favorite track is track 11, which would be People Bleed. Phenomenal track. I love the production on that one so much. What's Beef is great. Love the dough. It's so cool hearing Biggie and Jay-Z again. Last Day is good. Even Fuck You Tonight, even though I kind of skip it just because I'm typically not in that mood. Kick in the Door, Hypnotize. Classic song. Somebody's Gotta Die. God damn. I mean, and I think really that's what happened with me with Life After Death is those first like 14, 15, 16 tracks, they're just fantastic. And, you could make the same argument with All Eyez on Me about how you could cut the bloat and it's a double disc album. But that was kind of the thing back then. You got to throw all this music on there. It's a double disc. You can charge a little bit more for the album. You're trying to get all these sales. You're trying to get all these hits. I mean, it's kind of funny how we're almost full circle now with streaming and how now artists are just dumping out all this music at once instead of making clean, concise albums. Maybe for stream numbers, I assume. I don't know. But my God, the first half is just so good. So good, man. What else do I have for notes? Oh, yeah. I wrote down, I'm curious how many things Biggie and Puff Daddy disagreed on behind the scenes. On the Patreon portion of the reaction, I do music video reactions, and the music video for Mo Money, Mo Problems was just a riot. I mean, I was talking so much shit about that music video because it's just, to me, it's visually so ridiculous. In the contrast between what Puff Daddy's doing versus, I mean, Biggie was gone by then, so they just have him on a screen and he's in his suit. Just the contrast in style, the contrast in presentation. I mean, they're basically polar opposites as far as I'm concerned. And it really made me think, God, I wonder how much Biggie said no to. I wonder how much P. Diddy tried to make him do this and do that and do this. And we gotta, it'll make more money in sales and commercializing and blah, blah, blah. And I mean, I understand that, he got signed on to Bad Boy, I believe. And so, of course, there's a lot of control there. But artistically, Biggie is so far removed from, it seems like, everything that Puff Daddy was wanting to do. And it's kind of sad because then I got into this whole little thing about, what would have happened if Pac and Biggie were not beefy? What if they were friends instead? And I got into that whole thing a bit. And it's really kind of wild when you think about how certain people at certain places can have so much influence over the direction of either cinema or music or whatever. It's really kind of wild to think about. Do I have any other notes? I think I've covered everything. Really kind of a wild week for me. I care tremendously about when I love albums. I love listening to albums, and I love going from top to bottom, and I love any kind of journey an album will take me on, even if it's just a collection of songs. We don't have to have a theme. If you've got a good collection of songs, you put it in a good order where it flows well, cool, that's fine. But you got to finish strong. You can get a little slow in the middle if you want to. Maybe you put the weaker songs, kind of bookend them between some of your stronger songs, and so you finish strong, you start strong. With this one, the bloat, that's hard to overcome. Just not really enjoying the back half. It was tough. But even with that, I walked away from Life After Death going, this is just really, really good. And more so, Biggie's just really, really good. And, as much as I'll complain about Puff Daddy, he's mentioned a lot in terms of the production credits. I don't know how good of a producer he is. I didn't bother looking into it. I kind of don't care. But the production on this is also really, really good. It's just an excellent album. Even with, in spite of how much it drags down on the back half. And I remember saying during the reaction, there's a couple songs that I was kind of okay with it, but I felt like we had already addressed some of these lyrical topics earlier in the album on songs that were much better. And so it's just more of a bloated experience at that point. And of course, I criticize that because all they're doing is the same thing again poorly. And here I am doing the same thing again, mentioning that again. I guess proving my point? I don't know. Anyway, fun week though. Very fun week. And man, it every now and then I'd be like, God, it's crazy to think that this came out a couple weeks after he died. And I can't imagine being a Biggie fan back then and just the frustration, the sorrow, the angst, whatever that would come with knowing, holy shit, he made all this and then he was stolen from us, basically. Every now and then I think about Jimi Hendrix and what he would have done to the electric guitar and rock in general if he would have stayed alive another 10, 20 years. Not even alive today, just another 10 or 20 years. How much would he have changed things? Would he have blended rock and electric guitar with hip-hop? As hip-hop came up in the 80s, would he have taken those two genres and just spun them all together? with Biggie, if he wouldn't have died, if Pac wouldn't have died, would that have kept essentially Puff Daddy in the jar in terms of the bling era and all that stuff? I don't know. But that was something I was thinking about this week. And it's fun to think about, and it's kind of sad to think about. But such is life, I suppose. Okay, there you go. There's additional thoughts for life after death. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm leaning towards Jid right now, DiCaprio 2. I want to hear more Jid. I really like Jid. He's got a collab with Metro. Probably going to do that one. There's some others on the bubble. I won't mention it because I'll probably disappoint those fans because I'm probably going to do Jid. Okay. All right, y'all. Take care. We'll see you soon.